Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning, routine as always, and checking your phone. You tap the banking app, expecting the usual modest digits. Instead, you stare at the screen. The balance has doubled. You blink, refresh the page, and look again. The numbers remain unchanged. There was no inheritance notification, no lottery ticket purchased, and no mysterious deposit from a stranger. Just the cold, hard reality of a bank account that grew while you slept. You sit at the edge of your bed, the silence of the room feeling suddenly heavy. This is not a glitch. It is the outcome of a shift you initiated weeks ago. You applied one specific, high-value skill to your daily work, and the market responded. Most people go through their entire professional lives waiting for a stroke of luck or a promotion that never comes. But you are different. You have tapped into the mechanism that separates the average from the wealthy. You are not smarter than the person in the next office, and you do not work more hours than the competition. You simply learned how to trade value instead of time. This is not about magic. It is about the 7 levers of wealth, and it starts with understanding why the world pays you what it pays you. Think back to your schooling. You were taught to follow instructions, hit deadlines, and pass tests. That is the blueprint for a perfect employee, but the market has no interest in your report card or your IQ score. It does not care how many hours you clock or how hard you work. It only cares about the value you provide. You have been conditioned to believe that brilliance equals wealth. But look around. The highest earners in the room are rarely the ones with the highest test scores. They are the ones who identified a specific gap in the marketplace and filled it. When you rely solely on what you learned in a classroom, you stay in the box built by someone else. You are trading your limited time for a fixed salary, tethered to an hourly rate that can never truly scale. Wealth requires a complete disconnection from that cycle. It demands that you stop asking, how can I be a better worker, and start asking, what problem can I solve that others will pay to fix? This is the mental pivot that separates the top 1% from the rest. You are not being paid for effort. You are being paid for the weight of the solution you bring to the table. The first lever you must pull is sales. Forget the image of a pushy stranger at your door. Sales is not about products. It is about influence. You sell your ideas every time you propose a project in a meeting. You sell your competence the moment you walk into a job interview. You sell your own worth every time you negotiate a raise. If you view sales as a dirty necessity, you are leaving money on the table. When you learn to listen, really listen to the needs of the person across from you. You stop pitching and start solving. You identify their pain, you articulate the solution, and you bridge the gap between their problem and your result. This approach changes everything. A conversation is no longer just chatter. It is a high-stakes opportunity to expand your reach. Your income potential becomes limitless when you realize that every interaction is a chance to prove your value. You are constantly in the business of persuasion. Master the ability to communicate your impact, and you will never struggle to find opportunity again. The world does not reward the silent. It rewards those who can move others to action. The second skill is communication, and it is the bridge between obscurity and authority. Have you ever sat in a meeting, watched someone with half your knowledge get the promotion, and wondered why? It is rarely about the data. You may have the perfect spreadsheets, the most accurate projections, and the most sound logic, but if you cannot translate that into a story, you remain invisible. People do not remember rows and columns. They remember the narrative. They remember the arc of the problem and the resolution you provide. When you focus only on the technical, you are speaking a language that only machines value. When you master storytelling, you are speaking the language of influence. Practice this every day. Take your complex ideas and strip them down. What is the conflict? What is the stakes? How does your proposal change the outcome for the listener? If you cannot articulate your value in 3 sentences, you do not have a communication problem. You have a clarity problem. Start refining how you present your work. When you stop dumping data and start building a vision, people stop questioning your competence and start following your lead. The difference between an employee and a leader is the ability to paint a picture that others choose to step into. The third skill is investing, and it represents the fundamental shift from being a laborer to becoming an owner. Most people operate on a linear path. They trade 60 minutes of their life for a fixed amount of currency. It is a trap. You can only work so many hours before your output hits a ceiling. The wealthy do not trade time. They make money work for them. Think of your capital as a worker that never sleeps, never takes a vacation, and never asks for a raise. Whether you put that capital into stocks, real estate, or back into your own education, you are building an engine. The magic is in the compounding. A small contribution today, when left alone to grow, becomes a massive asset over a decade. The cost of waiting is higher than the cost of starting. Every dollar you spend on consumption is a dollar that could have been an employee for you. Stop looking for the quick payout. Start looking for the long-term yield. When you prioritize consistency over intensity, you create a foundation that sustains you even when you are not actively working. Build your systems, fund your assets, and let time do the heavy lifting for you. This is the only way to break the cycle of trading hours for survival. The fourth skill is the mastery of artificial intelligence and modern technology. We are currently witnessing a shift in the labor market that ignores your credentials and focuses entirely on your output speed. The question is no longer whether AI will replace you. The reality is that a professional using AI will replace a professional who ignores it. When you perform manual tasks that a machine can execute in seconds, you are effectively competing against a calculator with a pen. Stop trying to win that race. Instead, change the terms of the competition. Use these tools to automate the repetitive parts of your work, leaving your brain free to handle the complex variables. If you spend 4 hours drafting an email, analyzing a spreadsheet, or organizing your schedule, you are wasting the most valuable currency you own. AI acts as an amplifier. It takes your existing skills and multiplies their impact tenfold. If you are slow to adopt, you are not just standing still. You are actively losing ground to peers who are already operating at 10 times your capacity. Start today. Identify the most tedious task you perform every single day and find the tool that handles it for you. Do not fear the machine. Build the machine, own the process, and let technology do the heavy lifting while you focus on the strategy. The fifth skill is the most counterintuitive. Master the art of problem solving. Most people spend their days asking how to make money. This is the wrong question. It forces you to look at your bank account instead of the world around you. Every successful business, every high-paying career, and every lasting empire exists for one reason only. It solved a specific, painful problem for someone else. When you stop chasing currency and start chasing friction, your entire perspective changes. Look for the inefficiencies in your workplace. Find the bottlenecks that slow down your team. Identify the pain points that frustrate your clients. If you can provide a solution that saves time, reduces cost, or eliminates stress, you are no longer just an employee. You are a source of value. Money is simply the reward the market pays for the value you create. If you want to double your income, do not work twice as hard at the same task. Instead, solve a problem that is twice as difficult. When you become the person who removes obstacles for others, you become indispensable. Stop asking how to get paid, and start asking who you can help today. The money will not just follow. It will seek you out as a natural consequence of the value you have delivered. The sixth skill is the sharpest tool in your arsenal: negotiation. Most people view negotiation as an uncomfortable confrontation to be avoided. They walk into a salary review or a contract discussion with trembling hands and hope for the best. That is not negotiation. That is gambling. A single conversation can alter your financial trajectory for the next 10 years. A 3% raise versus a 10% raise creates a gap that widens into a chasm over a decade of compound interest. You are not arguing for a bigger slice of the pie. You are defining your market worth. Preparation is the only antidote to the pressure of the moment. Research your industry standards, quantify your unique contributions, and anticipate the counterarguments before you enter the room. Active listening is your most effective tactic. When you listen to the constraints and needs of the other party, you stop fighting against them and start building a bridge toward a solution that benefits both sides. When you master the art of the win-win, you no longer fear the table. You control the narrative, you command respect, and you ensure that your compensation reflects the true weight of your impact. Stop settling for what is offered. Start negotiating for what you are worth. You have the map. You have the skills. You know how to sell, how to communicate, how to invest, how to leverage technology. how to solve problems, and how to negotiate for your worth. On paper, you are a titan. Yet, you look at your results, and the needle has barely moved. Why? This is the point where most people collapse. They hoard information like a treasure chest they never open. They attend every seminar, read every book, and watch every tutorial. Yet they remain stuck in the same cubicle, staring at the same screen, waiting for a breakthrough that never arrives. The tools are not the problem. Your competence is not the problem. The failure happens in the silence between the plan and the action. You have identified the path, but you are not walking it. There is a single, invisible weight dragging you back every time you try to launch. It is not a lack of talent. It is not a lack of opportunity. It is a fundamental absence of the one force that turns potential into kinetic energy. Without this seventh element, all your other knowledge is just noise. It is the difference between a dreamer and a force of nature. What is holding you back is not what you do not know. It is what you refuse to do, day after day, regardless of how you feel. The final skill is the only one that matters: discipline. Stop waiting for the urge to act. Stop expecting a sudden spark of inspiration to carry you through a difficult task. Motivation is a lie you tell yourself to justify procrastination. It is an emotional state, and like all emotions, it is fleeting. It vanishes the moment the work becomes tedious, or the morning becomes cold, or the challenge becomes real. If you rely on feeling ready to succeed, you will spend your entire life waiting. Discipline is not a feeling. It is a system. It is the cold, unwavering commitment to execute your plan regardless of your current mood. It is doing the work when you are tired, when you are angry, and when you are bored. It is the glue that binds your strategy to your reality. When you remove emotion from the equation, you remove the possibility of failure by choice. You do not need to be inspired to be wealthy. You only need to be consistent. You need to show up when you would rather quit. You need to perform the mundane tasks that others abandon. Discipline is the quiet, relentless engine that turns potential into progress. It is the difference between a fleeting attempt and a permanent legacy. Everything else is just preparation. This is the foundation. Now, look at your bank account. Do not look at it as a measure of your worth as a person, but as a precise, unblinking audit of your current skill set. Your income today is not an accident. It is not bad luck, and it is not a conspiracy of the economy. It is a reflection, a perfect, mathematical reflection of the value you provide to the market. If you are frustrated by the numbers you see, do not blame the system. Blame the limitation of your own capacity. The market does not pay for your effort. It does not pay for how hard you work, how long you stay at your desk, or how much you worry about your bills. It pays for value, and value is a direct byproduct of the skills you have mastered. If your income is stagnant, it is because your skill set is stagnant. You are being paid exactly what you are currently worth, based on the problems you are capable of solving. This is the bitter truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You can hide behind excuses. You can wait for a raise that will never come, or you can face the mirror. You are the architect of your own financial ceiling. If you want the numbers to change, you must change the input. The reality check is simple. You are not underpaid. You are merely underskilled. The weight of that truth can be paralyzing, but you do not need to fix everything today. You do not need to master all 7 skills by sunrise. The secret is not in a massive, life-altering overhaul, but in the power of a specific, daily commitment. Pick one skill, just one. Set a timer for 30 minutes. During that time, you do not check your phone. You do not debate your progress, and you do not look at the finish line. You simply work. You read, you practice, or you execute. When the timer hits 0, you stop. You have done your part. Tomorrow, you repeat the cycle. This is how you dismantle the wall of intimidation. 30 minutes is a small price to pay for a lifetime of compound growth. It is long enough to make progress, but short enough to be sustainable when your energy is low. You are building a new version of yourself, one half-hour block at a time. The anxiety of not knowing where to start vanishes the moment you commit to the first 30 minutes. The path is now clear. You have the tools. You have the target. and you have the discipline. The only question remaining is this: which skill will you commit to for the next 30 minutes? Look at the people you admire. Look at those who have built the wealth and the influence you crave. You see the finish line, the grand achievement, the finished product. You see the result, but you are blind to the process. You imagine they started with some innate spark, some hidden advantage that you were never given. That is the lie that keeps you stationary. Every expert you respect was once an amateur who struggled with the basics. They did not start at the top. They started exactly where you are right now, staring at a blank page or a difficult concept, wondering if their effort would ever yield a return. They built their empire one brick at a time, through thousands of 30-minute sessions that no one ever saw. They endured the boredom of repetition when motivation had long since faded. They did not win because they were gifted. They won because they were consistent. When you look at your own journey, do not compare your beginning to their end. Compare your commitment to theirs. The gap between where you are and where they stand is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of time, focused effort, and the refusal to quit when the progress feels invisible. You are not witnessing a miracle. You are witnessing a deliberate, calculated construction of value. The knowledge is in your hands. The path is mapped. You have seen the skills that build wealth and the discipline that sustains it. Now, the heavy lifting falls to you. You can close this window and wait for a sign, or you can pick your first target. Do not look for permission. Do not wait for the perfect moment. The market does not care about your intentions. It cares about the value you deliver. Look at the list one more time. Sales, communication, investing, technology, problem-solving, negotiation, or discipline. There is no wrong starting point, but there is a massive cost to inaction. You are the architect of your own financial future, and it is time to lay the first brick. So, tell me, which of these will you start with today?